Okay, so welcome to the second workshop this semester. I don't think there's a need for introductions, and we also did a lot of introducing introductions last time. So I'm going to jump right into it. So today we're going to be talking about presentations, not in the sense of here I am presenting my material, but in the context of slide decks, slideshows, PowerPoints, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to go ahead and ask you guys to wait for a fraction of a second until this thing uploads. And then on your own devices, go to joinpd.com and enter that code right there.
We have to sign in with Google, yeah?
And you do need to authorize with Google, which is essentially Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
These two are equivalent. It should be pretty
that's
straightforward right now. Great. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start the class, and whatever I'm presenting, you should be able to see the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So today we're talking about interactive presentations. Okay, so that short intro, PowerPoint. We're actually not going to be talking about PowerPoint because PowerPoint is just one form of presentation. And instead I'm going to use the term slide deck. Okay, and specifically, you may or may not have noticed I am using a slightly modified version of the Google slide deck. Okay, before we begin, or actually as we are starting, as you are plugged into this presentation on your own devices, you should notice that you should see that as I'm changing these slides, your slides should also be changing. And in fact, you should be seeing this question on your screen. Now, by a show of hands, who is using some form of slides in their classes? PowerPoint? So go PowerPoint slides. Okay, all of us. Okay, so nobody's completely unfamiliar with it. Why do you use it is my question. Why do we need a slide deck? And before you answer, I invite you to maybe answer it right on your computer so that everybody has access to it. Hey, is everyone responding? How are the responses shaping up? Let's see them right here. For grammar sequences, for cultural stuff like photo sequences, and as Sandeep is typing furiously, presentation slides are good to engage students. Okay, because I could show cultural picture and make it more interacting. Presentation slides are good to engage students to how deleted. Man, many. Our conversation is slowly but surely taking shape. So we have a couple themes that are common for all, they're running through all these answers. Grammar, culture, vocabulary, cultural pictures. In student engagement, visuals. Now, how exactly, and I am not sure who wrote it, nor does it matter, how exactly are slides engaging?
It is more interesting, and especially for those, okay, I'm being judgmental here, for those millennials, it's good to see technology rather than just books, articles. It seems boring to them. And then, well, what can you say? It's colorful, it has like, and if we're talking about like the grammar aspect and things like that, we can just point out the most important part rather than seeing it in a book, for example.
Okay, so you've made a cognitive jump from the interesting aspect of visual imagery to grammar. Okay.
And you cannot put too much text on the slide, so the text is short.
There's different colors, so the main students are very big also, so they want to see different colors, different.
Okay, so they're visually stimulating. They're visually stimulating.
It saves you time because sometimes you need to write on the blackboard and you would write the same things, but you have them on the PowerPoint, so it saves you time. But it is less engaging, I would say, for the students than writing on the board.
So the advantage is definitely the convenience, the pragmatic aspect of having a presentation. Right, saves you time. You can prepare everything, all the materials ahead of time, and then just bam, 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 display. for your display for your students. But at the same time, if you do it in a way that is colorful, culturally relevant, but also because it is passive, right? It is fundamentally passive. Coffee is here. It is fundamentally passive. Students might find sometimes that it is boring. Cindy?
Yeah, because if you can just gonna create slides,
Please help yourselves to
Thank you.
coffee.
along with the audio, video, right, and more interactive, such as like that, they can open these slides. So you can just keep on the coursework. They can open and practice anytime. For example, what I do, I add the words pronunciation, right? So then they can practice with the pronunciation, and they can. I give like some kind of exercises on the slides too, and it's just a less sometimes. If you wanna avoid spending so much time on the lecture, right? Then you can just briefly record it and add it up there. Then they can listen anytime. It's pretty interactive, yeah.
Okay, so this is the permanence.
Yeah, it's gonna be permanent.
Of your of the lecture itself. But as you have pointed out, I'm pretty sure that many, if not all of us agree here, presentations in and of themselves, even though engaging, they are not necessarily interactive, right? They are passive.
You
Right.
can make them interactive, and I find that the best types of PowerPoints, especially if you use it like for half of the lesson, or if you're doing a grammar lesson, it's good to intersperse communicative pair work activities based on the slide, or games.
So you're hinting
Yes.
on the communicative, on riffing off of the slides for communicative purposes,
Yeah, so
right?
as soon as you've introduced a grammar point, then you can practice with pair work. Yes, so you
But
can.
Alessandro really should read that doing that it is not equivalent to actually having the slides themselves interactive. Right, that's already one step removed, because you are essentially giving your students an activity that is mediated by a slide, right, that is in front of them, but that same activity might as well have been given out in a handout,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
The fact that it is in the digital medium in and of itself is not very helpful, does not really add anything to the instruction, right?
Yes.
So how can we, is there a way to make slides interactive?
Yes, I used it. I used portraits.
Portraits?
Yes, so they had PowerPoints with portraits, and they had to choose a portrait and describe it, and then they had to guess which portrait that was. So it's very low tech, but it works.
So deep you're thinking.
Yeah,
Those
because
thoughts.
yesterday I got a really good compliment from a student. Honestly, I would like to share this one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because when it's the word is appearing, right? And keep asking like by the name. Okay, Winnie, can you tell me what's the mistake here? And another word is popping up, right? Then I'm gonna ask another student. It's like more interactive, and they don't know like who's I'm gonna call to whom, right? So they are just keep waiting for keep waiting for another word and trying to pronounce or trying to make the sound, right? The sound. This is pretty much interactive. And they said, Professor, we really love this.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So
Very
if you want to
nice.
make it more interactive.
That is one way to do it, or you can rely on sort of newer tools like we are doing right now, where there is a presentation going, right? And you are actively working, acting on this presentation. PowerPoints or slide decks or presentations, as they were in themselves, can be engaging, but are largely passive, and to an extent could be boring, if not structured correctly. And I would like to now show you an example of such a presentation on the so-called golden rule. It's for the Chinese language, and I, as language instructors yourselves, I would like you guys to, it's not very long, to pay attention to it, to try to critically deconstruct it, and to make note of what it is that is wrong with this particular presentation, okay? Or how it could be improved. It's 4 minutes long. Okay,
That's how it works.
what do you think? You can actually look at your screens. This is another feature of this platform that I'm also demonstrating, and it should.
Oh, okay. Oh,
So you can bring
wow.
I like to calibrate, so it's
Yeah, I'm
kind
just
of
trying-
going all completely.
Yeah, I'm just trying to sort of see how you guys are feeling about this video. Okay, so one person thought it was great, and then we have some ambivalence, a few people going towards the negative end of the spectrum. I didn't particularly think it was very impressive nor good, but that we
I think
will.
it's not all bad.
It was terrible. No.
No, I would not put it in the red. It's not terrible.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I just found it and didn't. I thought it would insert it there. Anyone else? Okay. So, what could have been done better?
To put a target language in.
And this is a slide where you're also contributing.
Oh, sorry.
your own
Sorry about
responses. No, it's okay. But it's a good start to. Mhm. She's teaching Chinese without a word in Chinese.
Not target language, so it's
Right. But if you think about it, whenever we're teaching, oftentimes when we teach grammar, or well, perhaps not us here, but I did see instructors teaching grammar, not necessarily Chinese grammar, but in other languages, entirely in English, with English examples, and without actually ever bothering to switch to the target language that we have.
I like the one she English and Chinese contrast. She does
Mhm.
the contrasting analysis. That's good because it's very helpful. So she doesn't use Chinese.
Also think about the didactics of this. This is a small piece of grammar instruction, specifically word order syntax. How is the material presented? Whether it is presented in a way that is most didactically conducive, or could it be presented better? Is this a complete lesson? Could we do more, or could she have done more with it? Gabby, is your answer here?
Yes,
Is it this one?
yes.
Eliminate the tips. And I am not sure I understand what this comment refers to, and this is not a question to whoever wrote it. This is open to everyone. Eliminate the tips. What do you guys think this means? What does it refer to?
Well, it was pretty rough when she said, try to think like the golden rules in English. That'll mess up everything.
No, I think that was good. Because I'll never forget this anymore.
True, but
To put a label on it, that I didn't think was that bad. You know, I know this now because I think, oh, the golden rule. That in itself I didn't dislike.
Okay, so you don't think it was the best
A
idea
label,
to
put a label on something that is easy to remember.
unless she's showing us the Chinese word, the real Chinese language, and
That's
try to think
right.
like that
Okay.
rather than doing
Yeah.
in English.
Which goes back to the very first comment, right? No native input, or no target language input, 0 in this whole video. Adding the target language, exactly. She could have exemplified in Chinese, going back to the target language, right? But I think her lesson is appropriate for the Medium YouTube video. It seems to be more of an intro to sentence structure than anything else. Yeah, so it is an introductory video. Teachers should give a different type of scenarios.
For
What kind?
such as like for these type of interrogative, right? If you're gonna give a scenario, let's see, if you're gonna go buy something, then you can say how much is it, right? So if these type of, if you're gonna go to the library or this and that, if it's a scenario, then it's gonna be much easier to teach them, rather than if you're just gonna throw the words, right?
Okay.
And give all the interrogatives in a one shot, it's not gonna be possible, because you know, it's gonna fly away. They cannot be in the situation. If you're gonna put them in the situation, then it's gonna be much easier.
Okay, so what you're hinting at is essentially
For example, if,
culturally appropriate or culturally relevant.
yeah, culturally, or you should make like a kind of give a picture and the person he's going, and you get in the bubble, right? You can say how he's saying, like you should use the target language up there.
I
So
see.
you say like, how much is it? So
Okay.
then you can underline how, right? It will be written in a different color. This is going to be written in a target language as well.
So is it
It's more interactive. The students they have like more interaction.
One comment I want to make to this is that what you're hinting at is a couple things. First of all, there's the whole pragmatic aspect of it, right? Which is, again, absent from it. So you don't have the certain situation, a certain social context in which this communication could be happening, right? You also are resorting to just text. There is no imagery, there is no sound, there are no other modes of linguistic communication. These all could be present. You perplexed.
When you scroll down to
Okay, but let's finish going through this bubble. There should be picture video, only grammar is dry always, and if there is no interaction, then the student would start yawning. In order.
Oh, in order to, it was incomplete because you know that's what I was saying. Like in order to teach the interrogatives, so it's not a good idea. You're gonna just give them a word, right, and just gonna teach the grammar rules. So that's not good. So that's.
I don't, okay, moving down in interest of time, I don't agree though that grammar itself must as a rule be taught in the target language. Sure. For the sake of brevity and efficiency, it is okay to use English at times. After all, grammar is not an end but a tool. Okay, I do concur. I do, however, I would like to challenge that with a question of what do you understand by teaching grammar?
Well, what I mean is what she did, word order, for instance, is a grammatical issue, or verb-subject agreement, anything like that. Which you could, in terms of word order, you could give examples of the wrong and the right, or examples of, no, not wrong, of word order sentences, and then they have to figure it out themselves, this is the pattern, and then you have the word. That doesn't mean that they learn it or internalize it. It just means that they see the pattern, and at that point, half an hour has gone by. If you do what she does, do this, this, and this. Not that I'm saying that that must be done like that. What she does accomplish is that in 4 minutes, she tells us what it is. I understood it and remembered it. Now we can work on examples and practice and in groups, and you can do much more in half an hour. Than sometimes I find that I know you're never supposed to use English and everything, but sometimes I find that it is so much more efficient to just freaking explain the thing in English, and then the taboo on English, I find that has to be broken a little bit for things like this.
So deductive versus inductive grammar.
Yes, exactly.
Deductive, but I think it's she explains that.
Well, she did it all
She doesn't,
deductively.
yes,
Mhm.
deductive. So she doesn't push the student to make a hypothesis. Okay, let's try to do the sentence. What do you think? To try. So it's,
Okay, so there is, I think the consensus seems to be that whenever appropriate, and whenever we have enough of resources and time, inductive grammar instruction would be preferable. But in the interest of time, deductive would be something that, so explaining and giving the rules to students rather than having the students derive the rules on their own is faster and more susceptible to memorization, yes?
What you could have done with this video is, like this flip the classroom thing, have the kids do this at home, and then you can use all your time practicing it in language.
Mhm.
You don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to explain it, but I find it's fine to explain a concept, especially because you know that some kids are not going to understand if you do it in a only the quicker minds will understand, and you don't really know who's not understanding.
Gabby?
So I think that the thing that I would improve about the video is that she needs to give a mnemonics sort of rule, because if her goal was for the students to instantly remember the order of the locative, versus. It is not accomplished. Like for instance, I will not remember which one of the.
I see.
I mean, I remember that time goes before place. I feel like an explanation would be necessary, or a mnemonic scheme would be necessary for the order of the different types of complements. In the way that she explains grammar. I mean, if you do study this and learn the rule, then if there's an explanation, I would like to know it.
Laura, do you have anything to add to this?
Using English to teach another language grammar is okay. I agree with that. But as
Sure.
long as there's another supportive activity that
Okay.
in the end support the students to think in Chinese instead
Sure.
of
Absolutely.
Was there a space for a supportive activity in the presentation that she just gave? Because
what was the
essentially,
question again?
was there a space for a supportive activity, and I'm not talking about the time constraints, I'm talking about just the medium in the presentation, for a supportive activity the way she did it?
Yes, she did. Yes, she invited you to think in whatever that's called, Chin English.
Chinglish.
Chinglish, yes. And then she
The
gave you the
Chinglish, that was
sentence, and then
problematic.
she.
I find
think so.
the pedagogical underpinnings of
change.
that proposition very problematic.
Yeah.
This is only for the heritage students, but for the non-heritage students, they cannot think it that way.
Yeah, the Chinglish was a bit weird.
Mhm.
But it depends on how she uses those videos. If she uses them, watches at home, and let's practice it when you come to class tomorrow, I have no problem with it. If she uses in the class, that's different.
Okay, but
It's like a
okay, so-
tutorial to review or to reinforce what they did in class. So just.
There's a party assignment which goes back to
Yes, it's-
our opening sort of remarks, observations that this is again passive. This is something you
For
put
sure.
your students in front of the computer,
Yes.
they watch it, they don't watch it. There's no way to monitor it. I mean, there could be, but
This is
you
actually-
don't know whether they absorb it or not,
Yeah.
right?
I feel like when you're explaining grammar, there is a plus when students can understand the deep reasons behind why the language behaves the way it does. So I feel like if you have like a 5-minute linguistics, intermezzo, that's a plus. Students like to understand why certain things behave the way they do, and I feel that that's missing. I don't understand why the complements are.
Okay, I think that actually before we even get there, I think that and I would like to propose a challenging challenge here, that the reason why, or at least part of the reason why this presentation, this video, which was essentially a sort of PowerPoint presentation with an instructor being in front of it, falls short is because of the medium. And it is precisely because the PowerPoint or the slide deck that the instructor was using, it does not lend itself to the kind of interaction between the instructor and the students or students themselves that would then facilitate the kind of learning that we are hoping to accomplish. So in order to address this problem, it would be useful for us maybe to change the mind frame and think about how the modern technology that we have access to could mediate this kind of connection, this kind of communication interaction. And with that in mind, I have prepared a short inductive grammatical activity, which you all should have access to right now. So there's a sentence that you should see in front of you, assignment every Thursday at the LRC, zealously workshops for the instructor's runs. Okay, complete utter gibberish, nonsense. Or is it?
Say again? Complete what?
Complete utter gibberish.
Oh, other gibberish.
Assignment every Thursday at the LRC, zealously workshops for the instructor's runs.
It's a perfect example of the golden rule.
It's a what?
A perfect example of the golden rule.
It is the golden rule. However, this is the golden rule applied to English, so as the Chinese instructor suggested, this is Chinglish, right?
Chinglish.
Now, how would you deconstruct this sentence according to what you remember from the video? So, subject, time, place, how, action.
Right.
Go for it.
But you just said it.
Well, yeah, but which elements are which?
What comes after subject?
Oh, so we
Time.
should put in between
Place.
brackets, right?
However you want.
But it's not time, place,
You already did it.
how, yes. And you can start with time, but never with place or how.
It would be enough to, you don't have to put it in order just yet. You can just deconstruct it in the sense that naming out, each component of the sentence would be sufficient here. Okay, 2 minutes for that.
Wait, come again. You want us to write the sentence in Chinese, but it's already in Chinese, right? Or do you want
No,
to?
just
Well, I
to
see this.
name
I
the sentence
see
part.
this in English.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
with
the
Chinese syntax.
organization, Yeah.
So what I want you to do is to cut it up and name each part of it. What is the subject? What is the time? According to the golden rule that you have been introduced to.
But it's wrong. There's a mistake in your Chin English.
There could be.
Yes.
I'm not fluent at it.
Yes. So.
I don't dream in it yet. But at this rate, who knows?
I don't think she said anything about direct objects.
No, there's nothing about objects.
No.
She considers action
The object
as
plus
one
the-
group, as one semantic group with all the
Right.
objects attached to the verb. Which in and of itself, for parsing purposes, of course, is again questionable. But anyway. Simone, subject every Thursday when at the LRC where is LSD how workshops runs.
Action, but for the structure, I don't know what. There is another.
I think that's all action.
All actions are.
It's workshops with the direct object and for instructions with the indirect
Work
object.
run for because it's. I'm used to.
So the workshops.
You got it? Okay.
Yes.
Workshop is the noun, right?
Workshops is the well.
That's
See,
right.
this is already a problem with the video that she presented.
Yeah,
She
we don't
mentions
know what
nothing,
the direct object does.
Those are the adjectives.
but she doesn't talk about
You know,
direct and
Yeah,
indirect
because
objects.
she takes it
Exactly, right?
implicitly
You know, the
to be
other
a
things
part of the
Of the
verbal
verb,
group.
of the verb phrase.
Basically, the main noun is a workshop. So who's running the workshop? Simon, and the time is Thursday.
Okay, so you are based on her instruction. You by deconstructing this sentence are already catching the shortcomings of that instruction. There are things that she missed out on that are not apparent.
So we
Every
didn't
time.
do anything.
How-
That's what I was thinking.
That's fine. But this is already part of the grammatical instruction process, right? Where you have taken the input that was provided at the beginning, and you are applying it reproductively to name at first the different parts of the sentence. And I don't think you have to go into detail too much, Simon.
You should
Simon.
reply.
Why not? I don't think we have to go too much into detail, so let's
So So yeah, I think the main problem is with the direct object. We don't know what to do with the direct
We
object.
don't know what to do with direct and indirect objects. The whole objects category is, because
Yeah.
for instructors being the indirect object is also left object.
Oh, yeah.
It's part of the verb phrase. Okay. The golden rule is stated: subject, when, where, how, action. Right? Every Thursday, the LRC Simmons runs workshops for the instructors. This is idiomatically correct English. And now what I would like you to do is to take what you have learned about the golden rule one step further and assign the different grammatical categories to each portion of the sentence. So on your slide you should see numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, each of which stands for a different grammatical category, correct?
It means like this is for the subject. The one.
Yeah.
So one is
So
the
we just need to
subject,
bring
right?
it
Is
up
it-
here.
Yeah.
And just need to
And-
drag it.
Oh, that's
I
so
just need to
nice. You
drag
can
on
do
the
that?
It's not really dragging, only the 5 drags.
So, okay. There's one thing that I did not display, and this is a hiccup of the platform. So let's say subject is position 1, when is
Right.
position 2, where is position 3, how is position 4, and action is position 5. You have 5 corresponding buttons of different colors. What I want you to do is to apply button number 1 to where the subject is in this English sentence, button number 2 to where the when is in this sentence, and so on and so forth.
Question. So with this type of technology, do you see who answered? Like when you display, do you see who answered what? Like
No, it's anonymous.
Oh, but you could make it non-anonymous?
I did not run into that option yet.
Okay, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't be able to correct a certain student who
No,
got it
and I don't know if you should
Okay.
at this point, because it's very good that you're asking these questions, because this is actually very useful for feedback, but that would be not for summative or assessment, for formative assessments. So essentially for you as an instructor to sort of figure out what your students were able to learn, grasp from the instruction, and then see how they're able to apply it. Okay, so for formative assessment, again, this addresses one of the problems, one of the considerations with homework projects, and basically, being a presenter of, or presenting passive presentations where you don't know what your students are learning, you don't know how they're able to apply it, you know whether they're going to be able to apply it at all. This way, with this interactive module, you can gain that insight, depending on how you structure your
I have
activities,
another
of course.
question. How can we learn to do this?
How?
Yes.
We still have 10 minutes. How to you mean how to build these?
Yes.
I will show you in a second.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm pretty happy with your performance. You got it right.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. Yeah, run workshops, direct object for the instructors, indirect object phrase, indirect object prepositional phrase. Of course, this is not something that she mentioned in the in the instruction video. Okay. So, last but not least, final application of this, or final assignment task, if you will, associated with the learning of the golden rule. You have to decide which of these sentences by Yoda follow the golden rule, and you have them listed on your screen. More than one answer might be possible.
But these are
Again, this is for it's for you guys to see how well you understand the golden rule, how well you can apply it, but it is also for me as your instructor to see where you still struggle.
You cannot choose more than one option.
You cannot?
No,
Okay. Then choose the best one.
yeah, it doesn't. Okay.
As long as nobody chooses the incorrect options. Let's see. So definitely C. The mind of a child truly wonderful is. Some people checked D, adventure, excitement, a Jedi, not that these things craves. I think that is correct.
Yeah.
What about A? Once you start down the dark path, forever will it dominate your destiny.
Because the how comes first and it's not supposed to come first.
Or the verb is not in the ultimate position.
And that too.
Okay, so I think you guys had a pretty good idea, a pretty good spread of the different activities and different things that you can do with this platform. Now, how did you like this presentation specifically?
Oh, so what do we do with that? Oh, draw anywhere? We can draw?
You can circle,
Oh,
or check.
Oh.
Right. Take a star.
That's okay, you can be honest, I don't know who is answering what. If you absolutely hated it, found it not very useful, you can share
So
it.
when you go on the icon, so it appears immediately or not?
It should appear immediately, yeah. What I'm gonna do, this is I think the last slide, I don't think there's no, it's 11 out of 11. Okay, so I'm gonna end this presentation. I will not name this session at all. This, you can name it for your own personal reference to see what you did and how things can be improved. But I will just end it without naming. Okay. So you see that this is a regular slideshow in Google Slides.
you can do all of this with Google Slides?
Yes and no. What you need to do is, and we can all do it together. So if you go to your Columbia Google Suite, which you can access through Lion Mail,
It's gonna be under the drive.
or as an alternative, you can type in drive.google.com.
Yeah.
And when prompted to log in, you log in with your Columbia email and password.
Yes.
Okay, and leave it open. And show me when you have it open when you are in Google Drive.
In Google Drive we need to be?
Yes.
Google Drive, okay. Yes.
Okay, now everybody's in Google Drive. Fantastic. From Google Drive, I want you to hit New and open a new slide deck with Google Slides.
You can do that, okay.
Okay, excellent. Now leave it open. Open up a new tab.
And on Google's...
No, a new tab in the browser.
Okay.
So press Command T.
So when I go on Drive, new Google Slides, then
And the blank presentation. Perfect. And then open up new tab.
here.
New tab in the browser. So the plus sign or shortcut is Command T. Plus sign is right
Here.
there. There you go. Perfect. Okay, and in the new tab, type in that URL right there, peardeck.com.
What?
Peerdeck.com, the one that's written on the board.
Oh, yeah.
Very good. Okay.
Like the fruit pear and deck, or like a slide deck. This is what you should see. And you want to log in as a teacher. Now, of course, I have already gone through the process, so I'm going to give you a minute or two to go through it on your own. Do let me know if you need help. Now, you should be, well, you will not see anything in the recent files, but you should see open file from Drive. Don't do that yet.
Always say the don't first, and then
The Dutch way.
they always say don't do it, and then say what you are not supposed to
Okay,
do.
go back, go
Not the
back.
other way around.
But it's fun.
So we grab a PowerPoint presentation from our Google Drive if we do that, is that?
Well, you could do, what I want you to do is go back to the presentation that you had already opened in the previous tab. Okay, well, yeah, I don't want a new folder. I want Google Slides and I want a blank presentation. Okay. And when it loads, under Add-ons, you should now see Pear Deck. And it is from the add-on
We're
that you
familiar
do
with
all
it.
these things. We are already 2 minutes after or past the time. I will stick around for another 5 minutes to show you guys how to do certain things. But essentially, all the functionality is on the right-hand side right now in the panel that you activate through add-ons right here. And then depending on what it is that you want to do, the activities are divided into 3 different sort of categories. There's those for the suggested for the beginning, in the middle, and then towards the end of the lesson. Opening up these panels, they kind of are described for you. You can have a text slide, which is where your students will then input their own answers. You can allow your students to draw on their computers or on their smartphones and smart devices. You can have them drag different objects across the screen and so on and so forth. So those are the functionalities, and the rest of it will depend on how you structure your class, how you build your materials, what it is that you want to accomplish with this particular platform. Okay? To present it, you hit present with Pear Deck, at which case your slides will be uploaded to the cloud, and you will be presented with this screen, which we should all be familiar with at this point.
So do the students need to have Pear Deck activated to be able to? No.
No. Did you have anything activated when you were participating?
No.
And that's the beauty of it.
It's enough. You join pd.com and then.
That all they need
So, but
is
the
a.
students need the computer.
Well, they need either a computer, an iPad, or the phone, and that, of course, will depend on your smart device policy in the classroom. Some instructors don't allow cell phones, some instructors do, some instructors don't allow laptops, others do. For this, I think it would be worthwhile to make an exception, given that they indeed stick to the activity. And then you can always, at the end of the activity, you can tell them to put the phones or the iPads away, or the computers away. Okay. Yeah, that is all I have for you.